Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Friday, November 14th. We've got our Pitt preview today. Notre Dame, number 9 Notre Dame, travels to number 22 Pitt for their last big test of the season as they make a run for the playoffs. Pitt's a good football team. They've got a good quarterback in Mason Heinzel. And they've got a pretty powerful offense. Notre Dame's got a powerful offense themselves. It's a question of which defense can slow down the other's offense. And so we're going to get into that game. We'll talk about injuries. We'll talk about some other things related to the game as well, some weather stuff. It's going to be a fun one. Very fun show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you like what you hear, hit that like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. So wherever it is, we are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. As always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. He is Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. As you know, he's got his Black Friday sale going on right now, 49% off all online items. So we're talking, the bamboo dress shirts and anything else that's going to be online. They've got a new Pima cotton, 100% Pima cotton t-shirt to go along with its award-winning bamboo dress shirt. It's available for purchase online, 49% off through Thanksgiving with the code ISD. Notre Dame scored 49 points against Navy, therefore 49% off all online items. Use code ISD and get the same percentage off your entire purchase. Get something for your husband, your father, son, nephew. You've got an unlikable uncle that you don't like, but you want to dress well. They've got their next level craftsmanship, the finest fabrics, and they've got their Pima cotton t-shirt along with their award-winning bamboo dress shirt available for purchase online. Not valid on custom items and gift cards. So they've got showrooms downtown Chicago and in Winnetka. Book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment and use code ISD for 49% off through Thanksgiving. Jamie, how's it going? Notre Dame's got a big game tomorrow. How are we feeling about the game right now?
Good, feeling good. I'm excited for it. I think obviously Pitt is the best team that they'll have played, since before the bye, obviously in USC. So it's the last, big test. You don't want to say like, I think Syracuse is going to, obviously kitchen sink it, and so is Stanford, right? So they're going to try to do everything to play spoiler there and do everything they can to win those games. But this game obviously is the most talented team they'll play left on the schedule, and it's a big one. It's a big one for the resume. It's a big one just in general, because I think if they win it and they win it convincingly, it kind of cements them as being in the playoff 100%. And if they win it well enough, it might, depending on what else happens with some of the other games, like maybe it eventually bumps them up into a home playoff game. So
So you need it on that front. And it's like I told you before, like for Notre Dame, you had to win basically 2 games, like two of the 4 games against Miami, Texas A&M, USC, and now Pitt. Like you have an extra ranked opponent. If you go into the season and you got to beat Pitt to kind of solidify your place in the college football playoff, you need to go ahead and do that. Right? That's just something that needs to happen for Marcus Freeman and his program. I do think they're poised to do that. Obviously, Mason Heinzel has kind of elevated the team from what we saw, kind of earlier in the year with Eli Holstein. Like he was not working out, and Mason Heinzel has really kind of elevated them and make them kind of a viable opponent. I do want to get your thoughts really quickly on what you think about Pitt's defense. I'm a little bit skeptical. I think they can take the run away, but they have to do it scheme wise. They can't just do it like with their personnel per se. Like they do have to do things to do that. They've had one of their top linebackers, maybe the top linebacker on the team is got some injury concerns there. But let's assume that he's going to be playing. And Pitt's going to be close to full strength. They're coming off a bye. What do you think of Pitt in their defense against Notre Dame's offense in this game?
Well, I do think if Rasheem Biles is playing, he's the guy you're referring to. Like, if he's playing, that is a big difference. Like, he's, um, an All-American caliber level dude. He's a very, very good player. And they've missed him, and they've missed uh, uh, Kyle Lewis a little bit. Uh, Louis or Lewis? I don't know. We'll go with Lewis.
Yeah.
They've missed him some time. He's missed a couple games too. So, and Biles hasn't played since Florida State game. So, I mean, that is big. Like, they've obviously won all these games without those guys. So it's not like, it's hurt them too much. And I do think they have like decent depth there, but those guys are playmakers. Like, they're like huge havoc guys, really good guys in coverage. They very good pass rushers. So it does make a difference that they're there. But I do agree. Like, it's very much a scheme thing of why they stopped the run. It's pretty much how the defense is built, and it's always been built, right? Like, they play their safeties tight. Like, they're not a team that they're a team that maybe they don't have 8 in the box, but those guys are close enough that they activate very much so in the run game all the time. But because of that, it leaves them vulnerable for a lot of like deep stuff. And if teams can protect long enough and you can throw deep, you can get got, right? And so that is something I think that it's going to be interesting, because Notre Dame has just killed teams that have like overplayed their hand in terms of trying to stop the run. And I could easily see it happening again in this game. I think also Mike Denbrock does a really great job of like getting into the right matchups. He also does like a lot of different things with motion, where he's going to set some stuff up where he's going to Carr is going to be able to identify a lot based on pre-snap of like what they're going to see. Like, I think that is going to happen quite a bit. So I think that kind of leads to it. And then also too, like, they are very undersized up front. But they rely on like a lot of like movement and quickness, run blitzes, and all that kind of stuff. But they have been run on. Like, it's it has happened this year. It just hasn't happened very frequently. And obviously everybody knows with like Love and Price, it's like you might not even block it that well, and they still might get like 10 yards, or like if you do block it well, it can go 60, right? So, and that's the thing that like they haven't played an offense like that, and really like not many teams play against offenses like that very often. So that's what makes Notre Dame so dangerous. That's why I don't think, if you look at like they've given up 30 or more, like a decent amount this year. So it's all on the table for them to like put yards and points up on them.
Right. Like, gave up 31 to West Virginia, gave up 34 to Louisville, gave up 31 to Florida State, 34 to NC State. I mean, even give it, 20 to Stanford, right? Like, that's.
Yeah. Like, it's not a good offense. And yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, that kind of is what it is. I think the other part too is like, there's been a lot of concern about Notre Dame in the running game, is that there are times when they're not dominating the opponent, but like, the good news is like when teams play it straight against Notre Dame, like Notre Dame kind of cooks. Obviously the USC game is very famous for that, but like if you're not committing numbers and being kind of like we say unsound is a word that we like to use. If you're not being unsound, then Notre Dame will run on you, and they've kind of done that against everybody, right? Like BC was in the extreme in trying to take away Notre Dame's running game. At times, Navy was in the extreme in trying to take away Notre Dame's running game. And now CJ Carr is like over 10 yards per attempt in these games, and he's throwing the ball over the yard, right? So that's the thing. Like, Notre Dame truly does make you choose, and you do have to hope that CJ Carr has a poor game, or there's some sort of weird penalty aspect to it, or Notre Dame's dropping passes or whatever it might be. Like, you do need Notre Dame. it's almost like, because we talked about it a bunch too. Like USC did not force CJ Carr into a poor game. He just didn't play very well. And obviously the rain and his nerves and all those other things, like he was jacked up for the game, that goes into it. But that's what you kind of got to hope for if you are going to do the thing where it's like, hey, we're giving you all the underneath stuff. You kind of have to hope he just misses it. And I think that's a good sign for Notre Dame on offense. Like they have taken away, or you have to try and take away something, and you have to be like very intentional about it, and you almost have to be super obvious about it too.
Yeah,
like you can't. There's no real hiding it. Like those guys are going to play down. Do you think it's beneficial to Notre Dame that Pitt is going to play it very similar to the way BC has played it and the way that Navy's played it? Like they're all dropping those safeties. Like I feel like Notre Dame's had like a good little warm up to the way Pitt wants to play.
And obviously Pitt's got better players than those
for sure,
right? So that's the difference. So, so there are kind of things where I would have to say like Notre Dame will probably have to throw to set up the run in this game.
Yeah,
like that is I think something that's going to happen. And I think somebody asked about like I can't remember if it was, but we didn't get to it. It was like somebody asked if it was going to be like a heavy RPO game. I don't think it's going to be a heavy RPO game, but there's going to be RPOs in the game. They're going to have to because they're going to have to keep them honest, right? And that is going to have to happen. There's going to be probably like I would say when they do play action, they're going to take shots. Like it's going to be like that is going to be a thing. Like they're going to have defined shots based on those play action plays, and that's kind of what they've done the last couple of weeks, and it's just kind of all set up for this. So I do think it in a way it has been kind of practice for this, and I think it's one of these things where I was a little bit surprised actually when I was looking at like kind of like Louisville's like I watched that Louisville game, and it was obviously that was early in the year, so it wasn't a Heinzel game, but I'm just talking about Pitt's defense. But I was watching that game, and I don't think like Miller Moss, even though it was like, wow, this guy's going to be a great fit in Brom's system and all that, he's been fine, but he's just been fine, and that's it. Like he's just kind of shown like a lot of what his limitations are, to be honest, and like he can do some things, but he can't do everything. And then I think just overall too, like with their own line and stuff, like Louisville's not that good. Like they're not, their offense I think was better with Tyler Shook last year, was like really like probably peaking of what they can be. And it did make me think, I'm like, oh man, if that was like the Tyler Shook version of going against Pitt this year, I think they would have cooked them like bad, like would have got like, I'm talking like 40-50. Like they could have done that. It was possible, but they just don't. It wasn't as easy to do that because I don't think Moss is that guy, So I think it's something that made me think about that too, because I think like Notre Dame is built like that, where they're built perfectly to kind of take advantage of what Pitt is going to say we can give you. And here's the one thing I know about Pat Narduzzi, based on all the times Notre Dame has played Pat Narduzzi defenses at Michigan State and at Pitt, is that he is extremely stubborn. Like he's like, this is what we do. This is what we do well. Come beat us. That has always been his MO. And obviously when it works, it's like it's cooking. But there's a reason, like one of the reasons that I mentioned in the scouting report, that they've only had one other top 25 defense in DF plus, like combined FEI and SP plus, in the time that he's been there, which is kind of shocking when you think about like, if you look at his last 4 years at Michigan State, there was 4 top 20 defenses, and like a couple of them were like top 5, and you just kind of think like, well, that's kind of what he's known for, is like they play elite defense at Michigan State. It's like, well, why didn't that translate to Pitt? Is it just he doesn't get the same players? Is this, that, whatever? And I think a lot of it is just that like he is I think the guys play well within the scheme. They play hard. They are very physical. He obviously has gotten good players, right? But they're not quite, what they have been previously, or they're not quite elite because of his stubbornness and his refusal to totally adapt. Like, they don't play a traditional nickel.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't play a traditional nickel in this era of college football? And it's not that they don't have like good, like their linebackers. They have guys. Their linebackers, their top two linebackers are like JOK type dudes. Like they're those type of athletes. Not quite that, but you know what I mean. Like in the same mold,
right.
And
the skill set,
for sure. And and they'll play safety, but there's just going to come a point where you're going to play teams that are just going to be able to take advantage of it. And not every team's going to be able to take advantage of it. And those teams, guess what? You're going to give them nightmares, right? And it's also, hey, guess what? When you're playing 11 personnel and they have 3 linebackers on the field, it's harder to run the football. It's just what it is, right? Like, they're doing it on purpose to be like, hey, we're inviting you to pass. The thing is the teams that can really chuck it around can just kill them on that. And that's something that I think is probably going to happen in this game.
The other problem for Narduzzi is it's not 2013 anymore, and offenses have evolved, and coordinators have figured out how to beat teams that play the way he does. And like you said, the stubbornness, he doesn't adjust. Like, he's not adjusting to that. It's like he still wants to play it like they did, way back when. And teams have figured it out, like Notre Dame figured it out in 2015, and he kept doing it. He didn't want to stop. So, that's Pat Narduzzi for you. So just a quick thing on his comments this week. I don't like, to me, he is just one of these guys where he's just going up there saying stuff, the thing about it doesn't matter to us and we could lose by 100 or whatever. And then he comes back and tries to clean it up. And he's like, I'm just trying to ease the pressure on our guys. I don't like pressure. It's like, what? Like that again, like, what are you talking about? Like, stop talking. These are not good comments.
It also shows why he couldn't be a head coach at like a really bigger place, because he would have to talk more. And it's like he said that thing. Do you remember, Greg, from like a couple years ago when they lost and they got smoked? It was like 58 to whatever, right? Like Notre Dame smoked them. And he basically said, I don't think he tried to put the blame on him, but he ended up inadvertently saying, like, we lost too many good players and we don't have good enough. Our players aren't as good. And it was interpreted, and should have been, because that's what he said, that it's basically like, well, the guys replacing them aren't good. The guys we lost are good. The guys replacing them aren't good. And the guys on the team felt a certain way about it, obviously. Yeah. And then he had to walk back. And I don't think he is actually, I do think he was trying to be like earnest in saying that kind of thing. And it's like, he's kind of unfiltered in that way. And I do kind of respect, that's one thing I do kind of respect about his approach, is like, he just says it. He just says it's on the mind. Like, he's saying, like, guys should get liquored up for the game, right? For this game, right? Like, he's telling the fans all that, like, hey, I appreciate that someone's coming out saying it. But it's also why some guys should be coordinators and some guys should not be head coaches, because when you say that kind of stuff, it is going to get taken in. And this is, first of all, this is the biggest game that Pitt has had in, I don't know, like the 2021 season, they made the, they won the ACC, right? So they probably had another game that was probably this big, right? But game day didn't come to that game. And, Notre Dame obviously brings more attention than a lot of other games too. So it's the biggest, you could argue it's the biggest game that they'll host since he's been the head coach there in 2015. And when you just say stuff like that, it's just gonna it's just a bad look. It's just a bad look all around.
I think the players ignore it. So I don't think it has any effect. B, at the same time, like, never bring that energy anywhere close to the building. Winning is like, you should never discuss is it better to lose or is it our strategy? Like anytime you talk about something like that is not what you need in the building ever. Like it is an illness. It is a disease. Never talk about losing or winning in that way ever. That's my opinion. Like we were in a co-ed flag league and someone talked about, it was some strategy, like should we lose this game, and I went crazy. It's like, don't ever talk about, like, you win every competition you can, never bring losing into the equation. Like that is, losing is contagious.
What are you trying to do? We're coaching kids here. We're trying to teach them something. You'd be like, guys, let's throw this. Like, no,
don't do that. Patrick Ball, great show as always. Random question: anyone know why Navy Replay hasn't posted to YouTube via Notre Dame Athletics? Never this late. Don't mean to interrupt show. No worries. Go Irish. Hi from South Africa. So first of all, if you send in a question from South Africa and you're watching our show, I don't care what it is.
We're going to bring it up.
You can ask any question you want if you're in South Africa watching our show. So that's first. Second, this is random. Yes. It also drives me insane. I check it every day and it's not there. And it is correct. It is never this late. And to me, it's unacceptable. Put it up. You have the video. You obviously have it. It goes up. Some days it goes up on Monday. Put it up. Put up the full game on YouTube. This drives me crazy. It truly does. So thank you, Patrick, for voicing a frustration that I have that I don't bring up because I don't want to. It has nothing to do with anything. But since you brought it up, I'm in a bad mood about it. Justin Knox, thank you for the super chat. Does it matter what the score is versus Pitt if Texas or Oklahoma win, that either both leapfrog Notre Dame this weekend? Those are massive wins. So Texas is playing Georgia. Oklahoma is playing Alabama. Let's say Notre Dame. So you predicted what, 45-17?
45-17. Not
to step on the end of our show, but let's say that's the outcome, right? Would that keep Notre Dame ahead of Texas and Oklahoma?
You know what? I honestly don't know. I would think that it's very likely those teams jump.
If they both won, yeah, I agree.
But I also don't know what that means because it depends how those games go. Because let's say Texas, do I think it's going to happen? No. But let's just hypothetically, Texas, 4 touchdowns on the road. They just embarrass Georgia in Athens. Well, Texas is going to jump up. What does that do for Georgia?
Right.
What does that do for Georgia? And Georgia, because Georgia has played Georgia, which I totally get, and I no one I don't think should be mad about. I think Georgia gets a lot of benefit of the doubt because of their talent, their overall talent, and their recent track record. Like even last year, that's Georgia was kind of this was kind of a not good Georgia team that won the SEC, and I get it. They should get the benefit of the doubt. I think part of the reason, Notre Dame, part of it is how they played this year. Part of what they did last year gives Notre Dame, in the eyes of the committee, helps them this year. They say they might not count it, but it's in their minds. It's in their minds. So I don't mind if Georgia does that. But if you look at Georgia's underlying numbers, they're not that great.
Mm-hmm.
They're not that great. And so Georgia's defense is really surprisingly not good this year. Comparatively, to what is it's 18th in DF plus. I think that's the worst it's been by far under Kirby Smart, since maybe early Kirby Smart, maybe first or second year. That's bad. They're 32nd in 46. Whoa, even worse than I thought. 46 in points per drive. And yeah, I guess some of the schedule and all that stuff matters and all that, but if they're losing bad and they get, run up against in this one, well, all those numbers are going to look bad, and they're going to put up their underlying numbers, all these kind of things that the metrics that the committee uses, and Georgia's going to look bad in those. And if they're 2 lost, like, I think Notre Dame would be above them probably. Like, I think that's probably likely. Like, so I think it's like one of these things where I wouldn't say it necessarily like, wow, Notre Dame is out of the playoff because of those 2 teams that happening, like OU winning as well and all that too. Because it really depends, how those games go. Like if Georgia loses in overtime and it's like whatever, then it's like, okay, well, that changes. But if they lose bad and their defense looks pretty mediocre, that hurts them.
I think Notre Dame definitely needs one of Georgia and Alabama to win. One of them. Because with 2 losses, Georgia and Alabama are both in the playoff for me. There's no way they're not making it. So Notre Dame needs some of these SEC schools to be eliminated. Like, they need to eliminate Oklahoma. They need to eliminate Texas. They just do, right? They cannot let a bunch of those schools have 2 losses, because if not, then it gets kind of like, like, and I understand, like, even if they crush Pitt, like, that's great for them. Georgia and Alabama, are making it with 2 wins or 2 losses. You just do.
Yeah.
On the Georgia point, like, it's not just that their metrics are bad to me. It's that this is, again, multiple years where Georgia has been saved by the officiating. Like, It was so bad in the Auburn game, they fired the head referee. They fired him. Do you know how hard that is? It is so hard to get fired, and he was let go. That's how bad it was. The second year in a row, that is their second loss, like, to me. And so it's another one where Georgia just inexplicably gets saved by the officials, and maybe not inexplicably, but I just have a hard time. Like, I just have a hard time with Georgia in that way. It's not even that you play. It's like you've been literally just bailed out by these officials over and over again,
Yeah.
And so it's like your metrics are your metrics. There's also the fact that you're just on the way to losing, and you get saved by these referees.
We'll never find out if that kind of stuff actually gets, because they're never going to admit it. But like, if you're really going into it and you're talking about how, like, Texas A&M beat Notre Dame, I don't know how you couldn't bring up the context of, like, Donovan Heinisch getting tackled and them not throwing a flag, and that being like,
it's the game deciding play.
It is. It's the difference between, because that's why you can't, that play, and forget about even the dropped extra point and all that. But that play, that difference between the difference between 4th and 11 or 4th and 21, it's just like, and actually, like, because it happens on that play, I think it's like, isn't it the runoff and it's the end of the game, or I don't, maybe not. I don't know. I can't remember how it goes. Well, no, because it would
no, it's not the runoff.
So yeah,
but because the clock was stopped.
The clock was stopped. But anyways, it's the difference between winning and losing.
It's 4th, and it'd be 4th and goal from the 21.
And it is the kind of thing, like, I don't know how you couldn't bring up, because outside of that, the Georgia game that you brought up, Greg, like, there isn't another playoff team that has had that kind of, like, this was a deciding play where this changed. This could cost tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah. So it's hard, right? I mean, it's because Notre Dame, let's not pretend. Notre Dame's obviously a brand, right? And so it's like, they want, I'm assuming the committee wants Notre Dame in too, but, like, there's the SEC piece, and it's just, the brands, like, the brands win. in college football in the chocolate game as well, right? People gravitate towards C's, chocolates, big chocolate. People go there and they don't look at the little guy, like Goods Candies, for example. That's a small Indiana-based chocolate company. They've got recipes going back 100 years, but they don't have the same recognition as someone like C's Candies, but you can go with Goods Candies. We are telling you about it. They are a small batch producer of decadent confections ranging from toffee to cream centers to their latest offering, peanut butter bombs. Forrest Gump said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. With Goods Candies, you do know what you're getting. Its cream centers each have a unique design, so you'll always know what's waiting inside. All varieties are offered in milk and dark chocolate. For business listeners, Goods Candies offer customized chocolate bar gift boxes. They aren't the customized wrappers like you get at the bank. They're customized chocolate bars that can include your logo or a message. These make the ideal client gift, and Goods Candies can handle all shipping for you. The website is www.goodscandies.com. Viewers can save 20% through the end of the year with the promo code ISD. Place your order online or reach out to Goods Candies at goodscandies.com with questions. Let's talk about the weather. Dave Caulfield, ABC 57, reached out to me this morning. He had messaged me earlier in the week that rain had creeped into the forecast. He used the phrase, "I'm not impressed with the rain that's coming." So if there is any precipitation, he doesn't foresee it affecting the game at this moment. Notre Dame's had 6 games where there's been rain on game day, Jamie, which is like the most in forever. So that's annoying. There's also, he said, you got to look down the line. Syracuse might have some stuff as well. So, but he doesn't foresee that being a major factor in this game. Injury wise, Jaden Greathouse is out again. He's not playing this rest of the season, regular season. Just everyone.
At this point, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense for him to do that. If Notre Dame makes the playoffs, I assume that he will then be activated. And so that's going to be a thing. Donovan Heinisch was still questionable. I think that is a practical thing because he got his concussion during the week in practice. And so based on protocol, he can't. There's no way he can be cleared yet.
Yeah, they can't clear him officially yet or whatever.
I think he's a PA Pittsburgh product. He will be playing in this game. I would be
frankly shocked if he doesn't play.
And if he doesn't, he has like legitimately.
It's legitimate, and
yeah,
maybe he won't play for the next game or something too.
Yeah.
Like it might be something he needs some time off.
Yeah,
but yeah, I agree with you. I think he's going to play in this game.
Yeah. Everyone talking about Greathouse transferring. To be honest with you, I think if there's anything he's doing, he's sitting out to the playoffs, and then he'll take a red shirt and return.
He's getting the red shirt, and
he'll return to Notre Dame.
He'll return to Notre Dame. Like for the people who are like, he's definitely transferring on the thing. It's like those guys, they're out, man. Yeah. They're not around the team. They're not like, singing the alma mater, wearing their jersey at the end
in
of
the front
game.
row. Yeah, they're not doing that.
And,
they're not doing
and not to say that, he couldn't transfer in the future or that might not change or whatever, because who knows? Things happen, whatever. But that is not what is going on. And so anyone who talks about like after the fact, like, well, Sully said he was going to transfer. It's like, that is not what's going on at this moment. So,
it would also require some sort of deception on Greathouse's part because he is communicating with the staff, right? Yes. They are in lockstep over this. So that's the deal. Steven Shokowski's asking about Rubio. Here's the thing with Rubio and Schrouth, for that matter. If Notre Dame gets through this game, you've got 2 3-win teams currently. After that, you've got Syracuse and you've got Stanford after that. They are not healthy enough to play in this game. So it's like, that's not a factor, right? They're just not healthy enough. If Notre Dame were to make the playoff, then they would be ready to go for the playoff. That is kind of our understanding of the situation. So if they're not playing in this game, they're not playing for the rest of the regular season because they don't need those guys to beat Syracuse and Stanford. No. That's basically where it is with them. That's the situation. We got a question on the message board from Andy Terry about FEI versus F+, and what we kind of use to gauge a team, right? And so FEI is the Fremo Efficiency Index, which basically it analyzes how a team plays offense, defense per possession, per drive.
Yeah, per drive,
right?
per possession.
Yeah. And SP Plus is the other part of F Plus, which grades a team on a per play basis, offense and defense, special teams. So F Plus is the combination of those things. There's one thing that I like to track throughout the year on how teams are actually playing. And I use Brian Fremeau's game ratings. So I'm always tracking this. And this is kind of what kind of clued me into, like, last year, like, man, Notre Dame is playing at a really, really high level right now. And so I want to check out Pitt real quick. Let me get to Pittsburgh.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to do this because Brian Fremeau obviously does an amazing job. With everything he does, and he always I'm trying to find the thing where the 80th percentile FEI game ratings. So this is what it is for this year through week 11. So heading into this game, 9 times Indiana, the most, with the 80th percentile. 3 teams in the next one: Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas Tech. So Notre Dame is 8 times. You know, like, it shows you the level that they've played.
Yeah. I'll just bring it up there because I put it up on stage.
Yeah. Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Texas A&M, Vandy, 7 times. Miami, Oklahoma, USC, 6 times. So I know this isn't, it doesn't say that they're looking at, this rating or whatever, right? The committee's looking at this rating, but it is something that, when you're looking at, if you're just watching the games and just being like, well, who's playing? This fits with like eyeball test of like,
right.
Oh, Notre Dame's played well, like for most of the season or whatever. Like, there's very few games where they don't have this, right? And that's something that, or they've done this more than Miami. Like Miami's like, so it kind of fits. It kind of fits with everything that, that we've kind of talked about. So anyways, go on.
No, yeah. So people use terms like eye test, vibes, whatever it might be. Like, there's data. Like, people can actually look at data and support these things, right? And so you had a pretty good game against Miami. You had a good game against Texas A&M. Like, anything over 1 on 1 game rating, so you can see my thing here. Like, so maybe I can highlight it for everyone to see. Yeah. Oh, wait, it does the whole thing. Never mind. But you can see my cursor here, right? So this is the game rating we're looking at. Like, anything over 1, you played a good football game, right? You've got a great game against Arkansas. You have one really, like, not good game at all against Boston College. And then you bounce back with a really good one against Navy, played a good game against USC, right? So, like, you're consistently putting good performance on good performance on good performance. Okay. Now we go to Pitt. Okay. And there's the one game where, as you can see right here, the 187.
Yeah. Mason Heichel's first start.
His first start, where A, it's a very favorable opponent to be doing something like this. And B, like, anytime you introduce a new quarterback and you're doing things that the defense hasn't seen, you're going to do well, right? Next game, 0.67 game rating. Not bad, but like not great. Then against Syracuse, 0.38. Had a good game against NC State, which is 1.1. But then you have 0.51 against Stanford. Like, they are not blowing teams away, and they're not blowing me away with like how well they're playing. And so this is where I kind of get like, so, when you look at our predictions on the side, if you're doing that, and I'll show it to you later, like, this is when, to me, it's kind of like, look, this is a team that has played much better since they changed the quarterbacks. But like, we also shouldn't get over our skis on how well they've played thus far. Like, I think if Pitt was to beat Notre Dame is going to have to come out and play a bad football game.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my read of it. So
yes. And I think Tyler Borgman, you might have asked this on the I think I've put it on the site. If you on ISD, if you ask, it's Brian Freeman said the BCF toys.
It's
.com.
bcftoys.com. Yeah.
And it is opponent they have opponent adjusted metrics there, right? So there's all kinds of stuff, and you can navigate it and look through all the different things. But to me, and whatever, this isn't just because Fremo is the Notre Dame guy, but to me, it is by far the best and most useful site to me in terms of like college football.
There's just so much information.
And there's so much in there. It also has, that's where it has F plus too, right? The complete or the combined FEI and SP plus rankings, right? And because like, you know, Bill Connolly obviously does a great job, you know, with his stuff. And I mean, there's a lot of people who get mad at him for different things. He's got a big platform, so people get mad at him all the time. And whatever, sometimes, yeah, I get it. Whatever, people are upset about things, but he doesn't have, because he doesn't have the dedicated site that has all of these things, resources for it. You don't see as much there of like behind. You don't see how much like how the sauce is made. And I think with you know, Fremo, like you do see so much of how the sauce is made and how it all comes.
And it used to be like Football Outsiders was kind of the site to go to, but that has like that site's gone.
Yeah,
like doesn't exist. This is the one I'm on all the time. So yes. bcftoys.com.
And I'll say too, in terms of accuracy, in terms of like, I found, especially in the last few years, that FEI comparatively with SP plus is more accurate. And I don't know like what the percentages are, because I'm only looking at like the games that I'm paying attention to. So I can't like tell you, maybe SP plus is more accurate on a general basis. I don't know. But when like the games for Notre Dame, for things that I'm looking at, whatever, FEI I think tends to be the most accurate. And I think the one reason why I mentioned it in Andy Terry's post that he asked about it, but I'd like to do it, use F plus, because I think it's like it kind of mashes that together of like the per drive and per play. And so it's going to give you like, it's just going to paint, all it is just painting a picture, right? Mm-hmm. It's just painting a picture of like saying like, generally this is where these teams are, like this is whatever. And I know that like there's a lot of people, well, it's predictive and it's whatever, you know, because that's what it's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be a predictive thing about like going forward, right? About like, this is how these teams, but it's predictive based on how these teams have played and all this, right? Like, so it's using data that they've had to do it. So that's why it's like, I know like Connolly is really big into like saying like, this just remind you, this is just predicting, whatever. It's not actually, it's like, well, you don't have to make it that. Just say it's based off of this data. So it's like, that's why how you get the predictions. It's not like you're just pulling it out of thin air. So, yeah. And I would say too, like Ole Miss. So Eric brought up the Ole Miss game ratings. Yes, Ole Miss, not, but if you look at last year, Ole Miss was like smoking teams. Ole Miss's team last year, even though, you know, they had 3 losses, was a better team than they had this year. And I think most people would say it if you just watched Ole Miss this year and say like, yeah, last year's Ole Miss team would beat this year's Ole Miss team.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to me too, on like looking at Notre Dame's total FPI, right? So last year, 14-2, they finished at 1.29 in total FEI. This year, their total FEI is 1.22. And when you look at like kind of the poor start to this year, it's interesting to me that they've kind of caught up to last year's level that went to a national title game, obviously. And this kind of gets to my broader point about Notre Dame versus Pitt, or my like kind of where I'm at with it in the game, or the way I evaluate the game is like, I think Marcus Freeman has the weakness that he has is that it can take him a little bit to figure out his team and to get his team playing the way that they're ultimate. And this is like not untrue of like every coach, right? Like the team you have in early September is not going to be the team that you have in like November, for example. Like the point is to get better as the season goes on, right? but like he can field a much worse version of his team in September than he will in November. Because once he figures his team out and he figures out, and not just him, but like his staff and everybody, once he figures it out, then he gets that team humming. And if you're going to beat them, you need to, again, I said it last year too. If you're going to beat them, they need to be distracted. They need to be not focused on you. And that's kind of what we saw against BC. If you have Notre Dame's attention, that's a good football team. And they are very difficult to deal with, just generally, And so this is why it's like Pitt, when I look at their game ratings and stuff, like to me, if you're really going to threaten Notre Dame and Notre Dame has their attention and they're going to like go into this game focused, you got to be playing much better football if you're thinking about beating them, because there's too many ways for them to deal with you. I mean, they've got, like we talk about the defense, the defensive backfield, we have concerns about them on just like kind of from an eye test standpoint, but that's kind of lingering from the start of the year. Jamie, think about the types of like Mason Heinzel. He would have been the third best quarterback Notre Dame faced in the regular season last year, maybe second best. Yeah. After Jaden Mayava,
6, 7.
Well, I mean, but in the regular season,
yeah,
this year's like five, and that's a debate of whether it's like him or Carson Beck. Like this defense has had much tougher tests. I don't want to say much, but much tougher tests relative to what they faced last year.
Yes,
they faced a lot of good quarterbacks this year, so that's why I'm kind of like, if they hadn't seen a quarterback like him, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But they have. And it's been dealt with, like CJ Bailey, like really good quarterback. Taylon Green, really good quarterback. And they were able to deal with those offenses.
What you're bringing up about Freeman too, which probably doesn't get talked about enough, is all of his teams have gotten better. All of his teams have gotten better. And that was always the thing. Like, I feel like that is like a huge Mike Frank thing over the years of just listening to, our boss, Mike Frank, talk about Notre Dame, about how like this team isn't better than it was like whatever. And that was like, obviously that's like Mike talking about like many years of Notre Dame football, many coaches. And the fact is, it's true. Right. And there was a lot of teams that like just died in November. Right. And certainly that was the case with some BK years too. Right. But like, I even look back to, obviously they didn't lose in November last year, right? And they haven't lost, this year. The last game they lost in November, I think Freeman's only lost 2 games in November, which pretty good. I think he's like now 12-2, I think, or something like that. Was to USC,
in 22.
And that game was, I think, obviously that was the first year. I think USC just, Caleb Williams was awesome in that game. There's a lot of things there.
I mean, Bracey and Hart were out.
Yeah. And then, yes. And Eric brought up Clemson because I wanted to bring up Clemson because people remember that Clemson game. And it was a huge disappointment for Notre Dame to lose that game because it was like Clemson was like 5-4 at the time. I think they ended up finishing like 9-4 in the season.
They ended up winning out. Yeah.
Yeah. And they ended up winning out. But that Clemson team wasn't good. Like, it wasn't a good Clemson team, but they still had a lot of dudes. And they frankly, like, that game, they kicked Notre Dame up front. Defensively, they kicked Notre Dame up front, like, big time. Like, I think that was a huge difference in that game. But if you go back and look at, like, just that game in general and how that kind of, like, worked out, like, so EPA per play in that game, minus 0.2 per play for Notre Dame in that game, 15th percentile. Clemson, minus 0.28, 8th percentile. Like, their offense didn't do anything in that game. They had the one Phil Maffa breaking that long run where DJ Brown whiffed on it, but, like, really didn't do it. Like, a whole bunch of, if you go to, game on paper, it's a whole bunch of purple for them. And really, like, kind of the difference in the game was the bad pick six that Sam Hartman threw in the game, right? And because they lost by 8 points, and that was obviously there. But it's like they had like Notre Dame had more green than them in the game. Like if for people don't know, like green is good, purple bad, right? In on those a game on paper, box scores. So it was one of those things where it was like it was kind of like a defensive battle, like no one really did much and whatever. And it was like that was kind of the difference in the game was that. But it's like even in that game, it wasn't like you could say, oh, well, Notre Dame, that was a dud game and this and that or whatever. But in a lot of other games, they would have won that game. It was very much a toss-up game. Right. Like if in the success rate was very similar, all that kind of stuff. So it just doesn't have a lot of dud games. Like, even these games, they won pretty convincingly. The team gets better. They grow. Guys emerge. Like you could say like, there's young guys in this thing, like not to say like Matt Ferrermo is going to have like a big impact in these next 3 games. I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But it's like we've seen it enough before where all of a sudden a guy has like, man, that guy played pretty good against Navy. Then all of a sudden it's like Matt Ferrermo ended up being like a significant player and then beating Pitt or something like that. Like that happens where you've seen it enough with Marcus Freeman teams that happens, right? Where you've seen it enough where you're like, wow, Jared Dawson is just really like playing at a high level, or Elijah Hughes playing at a high level. And it's like, well, those guys just keep playing at a high level and they keep getting better. Or like KVA, I mean, obviously the guy's been good all year, but the last 4 games, he's been like insane good. Like he's been lights out. He's like, 6.5, total havoc plays. And he's just like, probably like 5 other plays where he was the guy who made the play that led to somebody else's havoc. Right. And so there's just a lot of that going on, offensively, defense, like both sides where you're seeing that. And that's why I just don't like when I was looking at it and there was like, not that I care at all, but like ESPN's ACC analyst or whatever, but I just saw that David Hale guy, he picked Notre Dame and then Andrea Adelson and then whoever else picked Pitt. And I'm like, if you're picking Pitt, you're just doing it off of not real analysis. You're just basically like, hey, I'm just going to pick Pitt because you're not really, because it's not based on anything that has been shown this season to think that they're a better football team. You're just thinking, I just think they might be more lucky on that day. Or they just like, that's basically what you're picking because there is no analysis, real analysis that would say that Notre Dame, you're basically picking Notre Dame to play bad and Pitt to play good. That's the only and why is that? No reason.
There's
like,
no there's no
reason
precipitating. Yeah, there's no precipitating feeling or notion. It's like, oh, I feel like this is coming. Like, no, because Notre Dame has played offenses like this, and they've come out on top. And not only that, they've done really well. They've played defenses like this, and they've come out on top, and they've done really well. So there's nothing to point to other than.
I do want to, just before we go, though, too, because I wanted to talk about Mason Heinschel, because I read a piece, it was actually on ESPN.com today. Sorry, forgive me because I forgot who wrote it, but somebody wrote a piece on him. And it was interesting because he's like, very much like he's a kid from like a small town, Oregon, Ohio. Never even heard of that town before. Small town, Ohio, totally like overlooked. He had like MAC offers and then Pitt and whatever, right? And so he got some other more interest later on, but it was like he stuck with Pitt. And 3-star kid, and he's a very easy guy to root for. Totally easy guy to root for. And you're like, and frankly, if you're just looking at it and you're taking like, any bias out of it, you would just watch him and be like, man, I like how this kid plays. He's just got moxie. He's so unafraid of the moment. Like he's going to come out and like, that's the one thing that if you were going to say like, they're going to come out swinging because that is his DNA is like, he's like, guess what? There's a whole shot here. I'm throwing it. Right? I'm throwing it, and guess what? I'm probably going to make it. And he's going to believe he's going to make it, and he has made it. A lot of those. He has made a lot of those throws, or he's going to run it and he's going to get a first down when you don't think he's got the juice to get it. He's that kind of guy. And those are the kind of guys who do win the upset games and all that kind of stuff. And so I do think that is something that, if you're a believer in that kind of thing, that is something. But there's still like a lot of freshman DNA in what he's done and how he's played in terms of him turning the ball over. He's had a lot of turnovers, right?
Yeah.
He's thrown 5 picks. He's turned the ball over, I think 9 times in 5 games. Like, that's a lot. Like, and frankly, unless you think that, Notre Dame is going to turn the ball over 3 times and Pitt's going to turn over 2, like, there's not really a reason to think that, Pitt is going to have a huge edge in that department there. And then he hasn't played a lot of like man coverage there. And they are like, and this was one of those things when I was looking into it, I'm like, wow, this is really stands out about how they are like not good against man. They have a lot of speed. And I do think that, Desmond Reed, who, they say is healthy, is going to play in this game. He's a weapon. He's a very much a weapon. They're running back. But they're bad against man, like really, really bad. Like, and they've caught 3 of 18 contested targets against man coverage. Like, it's horrendous. Like, so I think about a lot of that kind of things, and I'm like, not that I don't think Heichel's a good quarterback, but I do think when I'm thinking about it, and I'm looking at the game and just objectively, that I think this is a bad matchup for Mason Heichel. And I think he's going to make a lot of mistakes. And there's just things that Notre Dame does. He'll make plays because that's what he does. And he's got that kind of thing. And he's unafraid, and he's going to keep coming back and pick himself off the ground and all that kind of stuff. But, man, I wouldn't be surprised if he throws like 3 or 4 picks in this game.
So I'm just kind of like upset, and I almost like muted your thing because like that was my point that I was going to make, and you stole it.
I'm sorry
about the man. No, you're not sorry, and that's the thing. Like every time I watch them, like whole shot, big play, chunk play, that looks like zone. Chunk play, that's zone. Looks like zone. Chunk play looks like zone to me. Like that's another zone. Like that's the only thing. Like if Chris Ash is playing a bunch of zone in this game, then it gets different. But like, if I noticed it, then he probably noticed it as well. You can't. You just can't. You just hope he's not doing that because, like you said, they're not that great against zone. And Notre Dame plays a ton of man, and Leonard Moore is back, and all those other things. So, listen, you win that point, and congratulations for you on winning that point. If you want to win,
I call it a tie. You were going to make the same point.
If you want to win a bunch of pickleball points, then go to the Will Howes Pickleball Clinic. That's Friday before the Syracuse game. And if you want to do that, you got to sign up for H2 Pickleball, founded by Notre Dame alum Todd Hill. He's teaming with fellow alums Jack Gibbs and Will Howes, who's a top 10 pickleball pro, to bring Notre Dame fans to Notre Dame Pickleball Crew League. Besides football, what better way to connect and engage Notre Dame fans than through pickleball? Membership is free, and members will have access to special pickleball events and discounts. The next event will be a Will Howes Pickleball Clinic on the Friday before the Syracuse game. Members can also get discounted tickets to that Syracuse game. Contact Todd at h2pickleball.com or call him at 574-339-5195 to join the league. Be sure to visit the H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you are in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza Drive in Mishawaka, Indiana. I did want to get to the super chat from Gordon Butler. Thank you for the super chat. Talking about transfer wide receivers are going to break down the door of the Goog trying to get in on this offense. Don't see Greathouse leaving. Plus, I think Notre Dame I know he had a very generous NIL deal this last year. And when you're hurt, like it's hard to command money from other schools. Yeah. And like you want to run away from CJ Carr right now? That's not what I want to do. We've got John Gruden talking about CJ Carr, number 1 pick. I do kind of enjoy these guys like, what is it, November? getting on. By the way, like CJ Carr, he looks like a good football player. Well, he's going to be a good quarterback. It's like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Who's a good running back is Jeremiah Love. I think he's going to be like, thank you, John Gruden. Like, I'm a quarterback guru. 9 games into this thing, he's throwing for 300 yards and 11 yards per attempt in every game. Matt McCarthy bringing up Pitt's left tackle out for the game, and their backup has been awful. Do you think Notre Dame can exploit that? Have you heard about that? Pitt's left tackle being out for the game?
Well, he hasn't played in the last little bit, and I think Narduzzi said that he was like, this is one of these things where it's like, I think he slipped up on a podcast and said he's out for the rest of the year. Then he was like, well, on Thursday he said, well, no, he's still going to be back and whatever. So either way, that guy sucks, and the guy who replaced him sucks. They're not good at tackle. It's just what it is. Like, he's not the guy who replaced him as Struggletown USA. He's the mayor. Like, he's been bad, like really bad. Kendall Stanley's a transfer from Charlotte.
Yeah.
And he played this is another thing. Like, he played right tackle at Charlotte, and he's having to play left tackle. He's been the primary left tackle the last 5 games. Against Syracuse, 5 penalties. 5 in one game. 3 pressures against Syracuse, FSU, and NC State, 9 pressures.
Yeah.
And he was injured versus Stanford. And so they were playing the 3rd left tackle. So obviously there's a bye. I don't know what's going to happen with these guys who are back, whatever. If Jeff Percy's the other guy who's a Michigan transfer, who, he played 404 snaps in 4 seasons at Michigan, and he was horrendous in pass pro at Michigan. Against Louisville this year, flagged twice, gave up a sack, 2 QB hits, 6 total pressures. He's not great either. And like Ryan Baer, who's like their guy who's like probably got a shot to be like an NFL right tackle. He's a good run blocker, but he is not great at pass pro. Last year, he gave up the most pressures out of any Power 4 offensive tackle in the country last year. This year, he's been a little bit better, but he's still he's gave up 11 sacks over the last 2 seasons. He's a guy who doesn't have the greatest feet. He's kind of like a big Wisconsin-y type of tackle, and he's just not that great. So, and that's a guy that he's going to have to block Boubacar.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of guy that I could see Boubacar just embarrassing and really like having a day with. So that is one thing too, probably didn't get talked about. Their offensive line, their left guard is out for the year. So he's out for the year too. So now who was another transfer kid. They don't have the depth up front, and even their starters weren't that good. So even if Percy's back, I wouldn't even say like, man, that's huge for them. It's like, I don't know how put it this way. He wouldn't start on most of the teams that are good this year that Notre Dame has played.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the worst starting O-line out of any team that's decent on offense that they've played. Like, this is worse than USC's offensive line, and USC's offensive line got whooped by Notre Dame. So that's something to kind of remember with all this too, is like, I think it's a very good chance that Notre Dame like kicks them up front.
Yeah. Bad offensive line. Not good against Notre Dame. Like, speaking of, improving, the 4-man rush has become viable for Notre Dame in the last few games. So that's a pretty big development for their defense. Jason Z says, what's more likely, Pitt winning close versus Notre Dame beating Pitt big by 2 to 3 plus scores? I'm going to say the latter, because we have both predicted that. So we can transition into predictions now. You said it earlier. You have 45-17 for Pitt. I picked 41. For Notre Dame. I picked Notre Dame 41-17 in the game. I do think Notre Dame is going to blow them out.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, the other part of this too is Marcus Freeman loves the fact that like Joey McGuire is talking trash. the Pat Narduzzi is going to say the things that he says. Like the ACC putting out that stuff, like that stuff matters, man. And like he is very good at like noticing that and getting his team to notice that and using that to just like, hey, we're not taking anything lightly. Like we're not anything close to that. So I think if you've got a motivated Notre Dame like this, it spells bad news for Pitt. That's kind of where I'm at with it, Jamie.
I mean, I think that same thing. And I also just think that like, I just don't think it's a good matchup for Pitt. Mm-hmm. Like, I just think that, I think Notre Dame's just got a big edge up front in the defensive line compared to their offensive line. I think they have intercepted more quarterbacks than anyone this year. They've had the most interceptions in the country against a guy who has thrown the ball to the other team a lot. It's like the one thing that he's done really bad. Another thing, much like a freshman, doesn't play well against the blitz, gets sacked a lot on the blitz, like a very high pressure to sack ratio on the blitz. Like, because I know, like, Mike Frank has been like, man, this kid is good. And there are, for all these reasons that we talked about, because he does make those throws that you're like, wow, that's an impressive throw. But it's like people aren't watching the Stanford game. But if you watch a Stanford game, he threw it to Stanford twice in the red zone. Like, he does a lot of this kind of stuff that we're like, why are you throwing this ball? Well, it's because he's a freshman, and that's whatever. He's kind of done the stuff that everyone was scared CJ Carr was going to do. But that is what this guy has done. He's been good, but then he's also done the other stuff. So I just think because of that kind of stuff, Pitt isn't good at running the ball. They're going to be one-dimensional. And they play a style that opens it up for big plays. So if Notre Dame gets up, I think there's a very good chance it's going to turn into a blowout.
Yeah.
And I had 45-17 now.
Yeah, and I do think they will be up. So, all right, we can end it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, whatever it is. We go live. We'll be live tomorrow after the game. It's like noon kick, so hopefully around 5 Eastern time, something like that. And so we'll be live after the game, and then we'll do our post-game show, hopefully after a nice Notre Dame victory. All right, have a good rest of your day, everyone. We will talk to you tomorrow after the game. Keep hitting and hustling.